Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. Um, so, I'm sure a lot of us are in shock today. And after, especially after that reading, that was it was shocking. It was shocking. I think that what happened today with regards to basically the insurrection and attempted coup was really not. Who knew? Who knew? It is spooky that the cards seem to have come up with that. And oh, this is Trinley, by the way, my foster kitty. Trinley, can you look at the camera for mommy? Trinley means enlightened activity in Tibetan, and it's one of the final. Let's see, look up here, Trin. Here he is. He's a super sweet kitty, and he's just constantly wants my attention. So we'll see how this goes. Hello, baby. He's so much like my cat that died back in 2016. It's like freaky, really freaky. Okay, are we getting wiggly? No, we're just settling in. Okay. Yeah. You'll notice that last night in the video that I put out was heavily edited, and that's because it took multiple goes at just kind of looking at the cards and trying to decide what do I actually want to say. And I ultimately decided, despite all of the information that seemed to be coming through, most of what I wanted to do was just explain where, how am I reading the cards, what's the order, and just be as straightforward about that as possible. I'm glad that that's what I did. I don't know why I felt so compelled to do that last night, but I did. And I don't really know how to feel about it today. I spent, once I could see that violence was going to be breaking out, and it seemed like it was going to get really edgy and difficult. I came in here and set up all of my offerings and practiced Green Tara for a couple of hours while I sat and listened to and watched a live feed of things unfolding. A really eerie thing happened while I was doing that. I think I've got it here. So I have this, some of you might remember I made, oops, even more came off. This mala I made back in, during the first lockdown for my Green Tara practice. Just bizarrely, out of nowhere, sort of mid-practice, just exploded. And a bunch of the beads came off, which is weird because it's knotted. It's double strand of hemp cord. So like a really strong cord that should, very easily tolerate being handled and moved. And I mean, literally just sitting counting beads, while I go through the mantra and work with the visualization and so on. So I mean, it's not like rigorous work. And otherwise, it's not one that I wear. It's very weird, a very weird situation. So yeah, it burst, and because it's a knotted mala, I'll have to re-knot the entire thing and remake it. It's not like I have any shortage of malas. I pulled another one off of her. Where is she? She's back there. This one, this sort of medium height one. And I actually had the one that's on my wrist that I wear a lot was around her. So I just pulled that one off and carried on the practice. But that was very weird. That's things like that seem to have have happened a couple of times lately in practices. I don't know what that means. I had a chud practice recently too, where I was going ahead with the drum, you know, and I have beads that hang from the tails, like they were, you know, attached to this D ring, and they're presently in here because they came flying off right in the middle of a practice where the visualization became really intense, and I felt like you know, you practice the visualization and sometimes something else comes through and just starts to influence your practice. And I mean, beads don't explode off of things that I'm working with all the time. But you know, like the Z bead that you have on your drum, or your, you know, the skull and the amber, and a bell came off. I mean, it was kind of crazy, and it all just kind of came flying off and scattered around on the floor. That was only a couple weeks ago. So there's been a lot of that kind of thing happening lately. There's a lot of really difficult energies, you know, that we're all managing right now. Outside of just the collective, it seems like there's a lot of really difficult astrological influences. You know, if you think about Jupiter, if you think about the perspective from the Earth, right, and the way that we have, you know, Jupiter and Saturn aligned, right, because they're in conjunction with one another. You know, it occurred to me this morning, it's almost like Jupiter's eclipsing Saturn from our perspective, right? That may not be exactly what's happening. This was just how it kind of landed on me this morning, before all of this stuff unwound. Because my mom asked, what do you think the Jupiter Saturn conjunction means? And I, you know, I mean, I take in information from all over the place, and I've been told various things by different astrologers. But the way it hit me this morning was, I said, you know, it's almost like Jupiter, you know, Jupiter is eclipsing Saturn from our perspective on Earth. You know, Jupiter would seem that much bigger. And if Saturn slips behind Jupiter, you know, authority is just missing. You know, that you know, that fatherly, you know, parental force is kind of just, you know, that kind of really enforces things in a very grown-up way is just not there. And I said, I feel like in this particular case, it's like Jupiter almost, you know, becomes like an uncontrolled ego that can manipulate anything. And that was just how that came out. And then I was thinking too about the Mars-Pluto square that's going on right now and how kind of warlike that is. And it got me, I just knew, like when I came home, this was like 11:30 this morning. And I knew, like when I came home from, I was out walking the dog, you know, I need to sit down and just start a practice and stay present with whatever's happening there, so that it can't have the ability to overwhelm. And just, you know, just stay with it. So I've done a lot of that today. Yeah. So, you know, I reviewed the cards again and looked, you know, I looked again at the video from last night, just to see, like, did I miss anything? Is there anything else to see, that, you know, that we didn't quite talk about? I feel like it was all pretty clear, right? The first one being, you know, what can we expect from Congress? I think that was the question. Yeah, what can we expect from Republican members of Congress? And what we got was, you know, this looming, and I felt like I didn't say it because it wasn't necessarily, you know, it's not necessarily there, but again, you know, it's about how do you interpret these three cards. And what I felt was aggression from the woman towards, the situation. Since it's joint session of Congress, I wonder if the marriage card instead of presidency is representing the joint session of Congress. And I can't remember what her name is, but we had this woman from Arizona, I think it was, who got up and, was it Arizona? I can't remember. There was a woman this morning who got up and started, it was a Republican, and really was just spouting off, insane, just, the usual kind of insane rhetoric that we're getting from the right. And that was kind of what I was seeing last night. But I couldn't justify necessarily why or where that thought was coming from, because it's not necessarily in the cards. It is in the scenario, right? Because when we're talking about his thoughts, well, his thoughts, is I'm going to say either Donald Trump or Josh Hawley or various other Republicans, patriarchal Republicans. And yeah, so it would make sense that she, I guess from that perspective, that she's then also kind of aggressive about her, spouting out her thoughts. But it's almost like, the pressure is coming from here, with him overlooking and being like, to get her to say all the stuff, right? So I think that's where, that's something I regret not being clearer about, because that actually happened. So that's one situation where it's like, oh, I really should have trusted my intuition about that and just spoke it. I wish I'd just spoken it. There we go. It's a learning process, isn't it? So that was the first one. The second one, we have so many of these recurring folks. Here we go. Yeah. So, the second one was, what can we expect from President Trump tomorrow as Congress meets to count? So, this one, you remember, some very, very sad news, right? So, with this one, I kind of need to scoot forward here so I'm closer to the camera. I was sitting earlier and I thought, well, I'll just stay down there and just flip the camera around and sit it on the edge of the desk. So what we've got here, with a lot of money, I also am kind of now recognizing it's, sitting inside of a desk in an office that's far away from the situation taking place and trying to maybe control, it's the investment, it's the lot of money, right? This is like lots and lots of money here. It's not just a desk. It's sort of showing it, counting money, quantifying things, as a way of controlling or influencing, the joint session. And his exertion of control is what's resulted in the very sad news, right? So that one was worth a second look, because I think the way I interpreted it yesterday was very textbook. It was just sort of, I just kind of, I got so carried away with the intuition that I wasn't just, and this is again part of the learning process and the practice, like how can I make this succinct and concise? Because the language of Kipper is succinct and concise. And yet you're also then dealing with your own way of reading things and your own faculties, right? So that's always going to change, the way any kind of a reading goes. But it ended up being worse. It ended up being worse. Using influence, the influence of money over this joint session, which results in, some of the saddest news that we've ever had about our democracy in this country, frankly. So, Okay, finally, we have, we have this one. which I said last night, I had a terrible feeling in the pit of my stomach. I didn't like this combination of cards and the way it turned out. And I'm sorry I was right, or that the cards were right, or that I interpreted them correctly, because anything would have been better than what happened today. It's weird, right? I went back and listened to what I'd said yesterday, and a lot of the stuff, like a lot of the different possibilities that I threw out there, pretty much all of those seem to have played out. Something that struck me, like in retrospect, going back to look at it, that was one where I did feel like, okay, I am going to just say what I'm getting here and be less concise because this is really upsetting. And I just kind of wanted to, I don't know, I couldn't help myself really. But this one was interesting because the feed that I watched was from PBS, and I wish I could remember her name. It's completely escaping me. There's been so much that's happened today. But she was observing so much of what happened today from a balcony. So as these two factors were playing out, and you know, there were, I mean, that really was, I thought, surely that can't represent just one guy on his own. But you know, for a long time today, there was just one dude, right, inside the Capitol building, and all of these are indoor pictures, right? None of them are outdoors. Not that that really necessarily makes any difference, because it does seem to represent the collective. But when you look at it from the situation of a lone guy, you know, who at moments seemed to have like thrown himself, you know, between the door, you know, and the insurrectionist party trying to get through. You know, that is what happened. They snuck up on him. They snuck up on him with the intent of coming in and taking over. And there were people watching from the balcony. You know, there's always these, it's valuable to go back through and look at cards like that, because you pick up the details, and they give you more information. It might be interesting to go back and look at some of the ones I had from earlier in the fall and just pull those card combinations out and just share, like, you know, what they were and how they turned out, and pick out a few of them. I'm just sorry that this is the one that I happen to share with everyone. You know, I also share your distress and concern. Thank you for all of your comments on the video from yesterday, from last night. I kind of wanted to wait till the end of the day just to see how all of this was gonna. I'm sitting here just like picking my cards up, you know, just to see how it all played out. Yeah, for all of you, from the bottom of my heart, you know, tremendous wishes for peace and for ease, and for a positive outcome to this situation. The most positive possible outcome that we can find. And it may not be, I mean, inevitably it won't be easy. This will be something we'll be feeling and dealing with for a long time. Yeah. All right, folks. I'll talk to you again soon. Take care.